The gentleman from California reserves. The gentlewoman from D.C. is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield myself such time as I may consume. I'm pleased to rise in support of S. 994, the Data Act. This is a landmark piece of bipartisan and bicameral legislation that will change the way the government operates. I applaud the sponsor of S. 994, Senator Mark Warner, who put a lot of passion and hard work into this legislation. And as you have just heard from the principal sponsor here in the House, our Oversight Committee Chairman, Darrell Issa, who put considerable energy into this bill over more than one session, as well as Senate Chairman Tom Carper of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee and House Oversight Committee Ranking Member Elijah Cummings all worked very diligently to get us to the House floor today. The Data Act will provide the public with information about how the government is spending money, pure and simple. This will hold agencies accountable for their spending, and it will result in a more effective government. On April 8, 2014, the Comptroller General of the United States, Gene Dodaro, testified in support of this legislation, and here's what he said. I think the Data Act is one of the biggest single things that could be done in order to provide more transparency on the costs of these program activities. The Comptroller General went on to say that the Data Act would, quote, standardize the data, and that's the operative word, standardize the data, so that you would be able to compare data across agencies, which you can't do right now. It would also provide more consistent information and at a lower program spending level that we found to be a big obstacle to us in identifying additional savings opportunities. The Data Act will require the Secretary of Treasury and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget to establish government-wide data standards. This will improve the quality of the data that agencies make available about their spending. Under this bill, spending data will be available through a single website. The bill will require that spending data be available for each agency and each program activity in a searchable, downloadable format. The Data Act is a bipartisan bill across both chambers that will improve transparency and in turn make government work better. I urge every member to support this legislation, and Mr. Speaker, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from California is recognized.
I thank the Speaker. We have no further speakers at this time, and I'd reserve the balance of my time for close.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from District of Columbia is recognized.
Madam Speaker, we have no additional speakers, and I would like again to express my strong support for this bill, to thank Chairman Issa for his many efforts to get it passed through committee more than once, and I yield the balance of my time.
The gentlelady from District of Columbia yields back the balance of her time. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And in closing, this last weekend, the Associated Press talked about the waning days of this Congress and expected to have a do-nothing Congress. That's easy to say, but in this case, today we're showing on a bipartisan, bicameral basis with our friends in the Senate that there are major pieces of legislation that will save countless billions of dollars and provide better information to the American people and to the watchdogs who want to root out waste, fraud, and abuse in our government. So this is not a controversial bill because it's taken years of hard work to get it right. But in fact, this is a major piece of legislation, and I want to close by thanking Senator Carper, Senator Coburn, Senator Portman, and Senator Warner, the author of the bill today. In addition to Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton, and of course my ranking member, Congressman Cummings. This has been bipartisan. It's one of the many pieces of bipartisan legislation that take a long time. They hold a lot of hearings, But at the end of the day, the American people can trust that the American people's work does get done in spite of some of the things we're unable to do. This is a major piece of legislation. I want to thank, lastly, leadership for bringing this to the floor today in a timely fashion so that we could get it to the President's desk for signing next week. And with that, I urge support and yield back.
The gentleman from California yields back this time.